You have to feel every sense of your grief, every stage, because when you purge it, when you get rid of it, that's when you truly are able to release yourself from the burden of being reminded that that person is not in your life anymore in a physical form. And I think that is when you're able to really heal and change and grow and love yourself, the new you that you have to, without, I guess, the element that was doing it for you or encouraging you to do it for yourself. So basically, when I was 18 years old, my mom randomly passed away. I was a freshman in college. I was going to SF State. I had a presidential scholarship. I had a full ride. I remember it was 3 weeks going into the program that my mom passed away. I'll never forget that phone call. I remember my uncle, he called me. I was sitting in my dorm room, and I remember I was sitting on my bed. I was talking to my roommate, and I remember the first thing he said, he was like, "Imani, I'm so sorry. It was really hot that day, and your mom, she was tired." And in that moment, I immediately knew that my mom had passed away. I knew that she had left this world, and it was alarming, but I kind of had an idea that something like that would happen, because when I was in the 5th grade, my mom had a heart attack at my 5th grade graduation. And ever since then, I had spent my life being in the hospital, watching my mom get poked and probbed and try a plethora of medicine, treatments, doctors, holistic doctors, rheumatologists, cardiologists, all the doctors you can think of. That was my world. So for me to go through all of that, to watch her lose herself to medicine, to the healthcare system that does not support Black women, and we know that, it was very disheartening for me to have tried to stay optimistic, to have tried to look for a way to see the bright side of things, despite my mom being sick, despite my mom having lupus, having heart disease, having diabetes, having, I personally believe, a rare form of lupus that is the reason why the doctors couldn't really figure out what was wrong with her and provide her a sense of comfort and security, knowing that the doctors have a sense of understanding in what's going on in her body. So when my mom passed away, it was very hard for me, because my mom was my best friend. I was very close to her. We did everything together. My mom was the kind of parent where, like, you could tell her anything. You could tell her all of your friends' secrets, and like, she could literally not care at all. Like, she was one of the most purest people in this world. And it was really hard for me, because we're always taught that, like, your mom's gonna pass away, but we always have this idea that it's gonna be when you're in your 60s or your 70s or something like that, when your mom passes away. Or I don't know, like, maybe not your 60s or 70s, but definitely not when you're 18 years old that your mom passes away. So it was very hard for me. Grief is a beautiful thing, because it allows you to step out of yourself, and it allows you to grow and change into this person. I feel like as humans, we're always constantly evolving, changing, becoming a new person. I feel like stagnancy does not exist in humanity, because as humans, we're always finding new people, ideas, revelations that will add to the world and our experiences. And I feel like when you go through grief, you're adding a new experience to your life. Is it tragic? Is it detrimental? Does it make you feel as though you're being punished for some reason? Because I feel like when we first go through grief, we feel as though we're being punished. We feel as though we are being challenged for some reason, in the most hard and most disheartening way, because you're being challenged by losing someone that was a part of your daily routine. And I feel like one of the hardest parts about grief is that when you go through grief, it is initially, for me at least, in my perspective, from my personal experience of my mom passing away, obviously it was them passing away that was a huge severance from my life, but it was learning how to live without them. And I feel like that is where the power of grief comes in, because it allows you in that moment to relearn who you are, because you don't have that crutch. I'm not saying these people in your life were crutches when they were there, but now you don't have any, you have to become your own rock. And I think it allowed you to relearn the parts of yourself that you subconsciously didn't even reflect on, because that person was giving you a sense of love and a sense of, I guess, fulfillment, that now you have to do that yourself. When you go through grief, it's a beautiful thing, because it forces you to feel your emotions. Because when you're going through grief, you cannot bury them. You can't pretend that it didn't happen. You can't pretend that now this is something that is going to go to the far corners of your mind, because you don't have the emotional space to deal with it. And I think that is a beautiful thing about grieving, is that it allows you to feel your emotions. When you're going through like the initial stages, mostly sadness, anger, it's fear, because you are going to this new perspective and you have no idea how to feel about it, how to accept it, how to really recognize that it's yours, and the universe is telling you that although your mom, your sister, your brother, whatever the grief, you know, pertains to you is no longer serves you. So now you have to sit with these emotions, these feelings that are honestly quite painful. But when you come on the other side of it, you realize that you would have never been that person and got that level of growth with them being here. When I look at my mom, when my mom first passed away, I wanted to be a doctor. I wanted to be a doctor. I had a presidential scholarship. I was nerdy, I was scientific. That is where I wanted to go in my life. But when my mom passed away, I discovered my love for fashion, and that's when I learned about all the designers. I started meeting fashion designers, and I started going to fashion shows, and I started to like put myself in the fashion world. And then as I got more time like meeting people, exploring people, and going through my stages of grief while I'm learning about who I am and this new element that I didn't really explore when my mom was here. Your whole entire life is the lesson, it's the journey, it is your experience. And I feel like I had to understand, for me personally, that my mom was only supposed to be there from 0 to 18, and then she served her purpose, and now she has to do her higher purpose as a spiritual being, because she has served her purpose in her physical body. But it was more painful to me that she couldn't fulfill her experience longer in her human body with me here, because when someone passes away, it really makes you understand that you are not promised anything, and that really changes your perspective. I feel like for me personally, it made me more daring, it made me question things more, it made me invest in people more, it made me, you know, have a better backbone, because like I said, I had to be my own foundation, because your mom is your foundation. Who do you call when you need to have a doctor's appointment? Your mom. Who do you call when you don't know how to pay something? Your mom. And now I had to do all those things for myself, and I think at first it made me angry, but it helped me relearn who I was, and it helped me see that everything happens for a reason. When you go through grief, it gives you a sense of wisdom that you wouldn't have before. I feel like because my mom passed away, there is a sense of knowledge that I have that other people will not have the experience to, you know, unfold until someone passes away. Like for example, since my mom passed away but my grandma is still alive, my aunt and my uncle still have the experience of their mother. So I think it's moments like that where I have a sense of understanding that they don't have, until the universe has decided that my grandma has served her purpose in her physical body and that she needs to leave. And I think that's why it's really important to understand that grief is not meant to hurt you, it is meant to push you. Now, do I think it's the most painful way to be pushed? Yes, because it's forcing you to step outside of yourself, and you would never step outside of yourself if you weren't given this huge lesson to attack. It feels as though like you're being tested. And I think the hard part about grief is it really teaches you the importance of time, because time will move on with or without you. If you're ever going through a moment experience where you feel like grief is causing you to feel as though you are suffering, as though you are not, I guess, at the highest potential you could be, just know that it's bringing you to a place that you couldn't be while the person was there. That wisdom, that knowledge that you had while the person was living, it will not compare to the knowledge that you have now that you had to relearn yourself, to feel all your emotions, to really experience life without this person. Because when the universe decides that it's their time to leave, and that they have decided that they need to do this, that, and the third to go to the, I guess, a different dimension, they have served their purpose in yours. And that's kind of the hard part about grief. You know, someone serving their purpose in your life, but you feeling as though like they have an eternity to serve in yours because you love them, and that is their purpose, to love you and be by your side. But I think it shows that people can love you without physically being there. And I personally feel like when you go through grief, you find more ways to love your loved ones now that they aren't there in the physical form, and you can find more ways to honor people. And I feel like it also makes you appreciate the people who are in your life, because now you know what's going to happen when the universe has decided that they have served their purpose in their physical form. So now you can learn, who do you want to be? How do you want to show up in this world now that you've been reminded that you do not have forever? Because whoever you are in the future, the you that has healed and done the shadow work, done all the healing, felt every emotion, because you have to go through all of it. Like, I know we all know the song Crane to the Sky by Solange. Like, you have to feel every sense of your grief, every stage, because when you purge it, when you get rid of it, that's when you truly are able to release yourself from the burden of being reminded that that person is not in your life anymore in a physical form. And I think that is when you're able to really heal and change and grow and love yourself, the new you that you have to, without, I guess, that element that was doing it for you or encouraging you to do it for yourself. And I think that's why grief is such a beautiful experience. It's very misunderstood, it's very misleading, it's very messy, it's very ugly, it's all over the place. But when you come out of it, it really teaches you that everything happens for a reason, and that you are loved by the universe. And I feel like to be loved by the universe is to be changed. To be changed is to be loved, because if you weren't loved, you would stay stagnant. You would have the tools, the foundation to grow and better yourself. And I feel like grief allowed you to better yourself. It doesn't feel like you're bettering yourself in the moment, because why would you not be the best with that person in your life in the physical form? But I feel like it shows that grief will give you a lot of answers that you aren't looking for once you step into it and you allow it to teach you. I think grief is the biggest lesson, because it gives you nothing in return but understanding. When we lose someone, when we go through grief, it really teaches us that everything happens for a reason, and that I was given this lesson that doesn't feel like a lesson, it feels like a curse in the moment, but it's to teach me that the power of grief is beautiful, because it allows you to step into a period of your life that you could never go into, because that person was not necessarily holding you back, because they had a purpose while they were there. But now you have this level of, you have this new range of emotion, experiences, feelings that have cultivated the new you that is going to, I guess, now walk amongst this world without your beloved, without this person that at the moment feels as though is a light of your life, but now you are the light of your life, because you've given the chance to build the foundation to do so. And now you have a beautiful outlook that most people will not have until they unfortunately go through the same experience that is grief.